So today we wanted to discuss in today's session some 4 things that will aid in a person's dua being accepted, and likewise 4 things that will prevent a person's dua from being accepted, that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned all in one hadith. The first of those affairs, أيها الإخوة والأخوات, the Prophet ﷺ ذكر رجلا, he mentioned a man, أشعث أغبر, disheveled, يطيل السفر, a man first of all that was in a long distance. ذكر رجل يطيل السفر, a man that was in a long journey. أشعث أغبر, disheveled and needy. يمد يديه إلى السماء, he pulls his hands out in the sky and he says, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, my Lord, my Lord. So this is the 4 things that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in this hadith, and we'll say in English. The first of those affairs is that a person, he makes dua when he is in a travel. لا سيما, especially when a person is in a long travel, because a person becomes in a state of need when he's in a travel, and he becomes disheveled and out of his best form. So this is a recommended time for a person to make dua. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in another hadith that 3 types of people, or 3 people, their dua are accepted. And from them is the musafir, the one who is in travel, when he makes dua. So when he's in travel, he makes dua, and his dua is accepted. This is one of those 3. Then secondly, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the man was disheveled and needy. And this is the second thing that helps us as Muslims in Allah Azza wa Jal accepting our dua, that we show our need for Him, and we show how free Allah Azza wa Jal He is from us, and how in need we are in the bounty and the favors of Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is mentioned from the Salaf, the likes of Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah and other than them, that they would show their need and their lowliness to Allah Azza wa Jal, and they would break down in front of Him. And this would be a means for Allah Azza wa Jal to accept their dua, that you show your servitude in front of Rabbul Alameen, the Lord of all of the worlds. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the third thing, which is بعدما ذكر أن الرجل يطيل السفر أشعث أغبر يمد يديه إلى السماء, that he raises his hands in the sky. And this is another thing that will help your dua being accepted, that you raise your hands to Allah Azza wa Jal. And there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that Allah is shy that his slave should raise his hands up to him, and that Allah Azza wa Jal returns him sifra, returns him empty-handed. That Allah Azza wa Jal is shy from returning the slave empty-handed if he raises his hand. So this is an encouragement for us to raise our hands to Allah Azza wa Jal when we are making dua. And then lastly, and not but least, that a person, he says, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, meaning he calls on the names and the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that he is repetitive in that. So this man that the Prophet ﷺ was mentioning was needy, was in a long travel, and he was calling upon Allah Azza wa Jal by his names and his attributes, the one who is worthy of all lordship. And then he was being repetitive in that, showing his need to Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. And likewise, we should do the same. It should be mentioned that from those instances and times where a person's dua is recommended for him to make dua in are many. And from those, we will mention quickly before we mention those things that prevent a person's dua, is in your state of as-sujud, when you are in the state of prostration to Allah Azza wa Jal in your prayer. And that is when the slave is closest to his Lord. When he is in his sujood, he is closest to his Lord, the Rabbul Alameen, the most merciful, Al-Wadud, the loving. So you make your dua to him in that state, and you raise your concerns and your distress and your anxiety and those things that you want from the worldly affairs and from the affairs of your religion and your akhirah. All of those affairs, you mention them in your dua, and you strive hard within them, and you show your need in Allah Azza wa Jal. And from those instances, like we said, is in your sujood. Likewise, between the adhan and the iqamah, between the prayer to the salah and between the iqamah, that if you make dua in this period and time that your dua is accepted. And likewise, in the last third of the night. The last third of the night that remains, Allah Azza wa Jal descends to the lowest heaven. And this is every night. And Allah Azza wa Jal asks, who will ask me for forgiveness so I may forgive him? Who has a need so that I may give it to him? And they say, a saying goes, if you really want something and you do not get up in the last third of the night and ask Allah Azza wa Jal for it, then you didn't really want it. If you want something that you desire in the world or in the akhirah, and you do not get up in the last third of the night, then it shows you how much you didn't really want it. Because if you really wanted it, you would have got up in the last third of the night. The person who wants to get married, or the person who is looking for a specific job, or the person who wants to get accepted to a university like the Islamic University of Medina, or the likes, or he wants to become steadfast, or he wants to stop listen to music, or to leave the gang life and the rap life, or the likes, then if a person was to really want it, he would get up in the last third of the night and ask Allah Azza wa Jal to take him away from that life, or to give him those khairat, those good things that he wants. And there are other instances likewise, but we'll suffice with what has been mentioned. The sujood, and between the adhan and the iqamah, and the last third of the night. And that you are needy when you're asking Allah Azza wa Jal. And when you're in a travel, you ask Allah Azza wa Jal. And likewise, you call by His names and attributes, and you be repetitive in that. Then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned 4 things that will prevent from a person's dua being accepted. And from the first thing the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, وَمَا يُطِيلُ السَّفَرَ أَشْعَثَ أَغْبَرَ يَمُدُّ يَدَيْهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ يَقُولُ يَا رَبْ يَا رَبْ وَمَطْعَمُهُ حَرَامٌ. And his food, that which he eats, is from haram. It's from that which is forbidden. وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ. And his drink, that which he drinks, is haram. وَمَلْبَسُهُ حَرَامٌ. And that which he wears from his clothes are likewise haram. وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ. And he was nourished upon haram. فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. Then how will his dua be accepted? The Prophet ﷺ said, how will the person whose food is haram, and his drink is haram, and his clothes is haram, and the thing that he's nourished upon is all haram, how does he accept Allah Azza wa Jal to accept his dua? Between your dua and Allah Azza wa Jal accepting it is those things that are haram that are preventing it. And from the biggest of things that prevent it from haram things, generally haram things prevents, and sins prevent a dua from being accepted, and specifically money and your wealth and your intake and your provisions, that these things are from haram sources and incomes that is illegal, the likes of drugs or rap or fraud or music or riba, usury, or the likes. All of these things are haram. So every time you eat from it, and every time you drink from it, and every time you buy new clothes with it, and every time you nourish your body with that, then it becomes another reason for your dua not being accepted. So the next time you're in a state of need, or you desire something, or you want Allah Azza wa Jal to prevent something from coming to you, and you make dua and it does not get accepted, then ask yourself, what are you doing that is preventing from your sins, from your dua being accepted? Do you eat from halal? Do you drink from halal? Is your clothes from halal? Are you nourished upon halal? If you are, abshir, glad tidings. If you're not, then make tawbah and start from today. Start from new today. And then we want to round up by saying there are 3 ways that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts a person's dua. The first of those is that Allah Azza wa Jal gives the person what he asked for. A person asks that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts him to a specific university, or that Allah Azza wa Jal allows him to get married, or the likes. And then Allah Azza wa Jal gives him what he asked for. That's the first. The second is that Allah Azza wa Jal does not accept your dua, but He saves it for you in the akhirah, and He gives you something better. Or thirdly, that Allah Azza wa Jal, He prevents something that was written for you to come that's harmful to you, a calamity or the like. Allah Azza wa Jal protects from that calamity from coming to you and afflicting you. That is the 3 ways that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts your dua. So the next time that you make dua, don't think that it being answered is that you necessarily get what you asked for. Perhaps Allah Azza wa Jal prevented something that was worse, that was about to afflict you, and Allah Azza wa Jal protected you because of your dua. So either way, it's a win-win situation. أكثر من الدعاء. Make a lot of dua, and you will get one of these three things. What will it harm you that you make dua every time you're in sujood? What will it harm you every time that you are awake in the last third of the night, or that you strive hard in the last third of the night? You wake up before Fajr and you make dua and you're travel. What will it harm you? What time will it waste from you? It's khair for you in your dunya or your akhirah. That is today's session. ونسأل الله أن يجنبنا الفتن وأن يرزقنا الإخلاص والصدق في القول والعمل. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us to benefit from these words and to allow us to act upon it. إنه هو السميع العليم. هذا والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
When we woke, taking a trip, really.
On a big thing, the Rona tried to come for me, but by the grace of Allah, I fought it off with some herbals. And you see, man, got the mint, the lemon.
When we woke